The Clemson Tigers are at the midpoint of the season. They're 6-0, ranked number 4 in the country. And they've shown a lot of, well, I'll get to that in just a second. Thanks for joining me on Not Bobby Durkins, because here I'm not Bobby Durkins. Every now and again I might make a sarcastic comment, but I'm not Bobby Durkins here. If you're new, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Pass it along to Clemson fans, ACC fans, SEC fans, though they're not going to watch it, or college football fans. It doesn't matter. Pass it along. I really do appreciate it. So this video, I'm going to try to keep it short, sweet, simple. And I'm not going to talk about every unit on the Clemson football team, meaning defensive line, linebackers, secondary. We could talk about that for a very, very long time. But really, let's hit the highlights. Clemson has shown a lot of this particular word. It's a word that you want to associate, whether it's on a football team, whether it's in life, whether it's in a business, etc. Growth. When Clemson went into this season, there was the number one question, the duh question, and what I mean by that is, or duh statement. You don't walk out in front of a moving bus, duh. You don't eat spoiled food, duh. You don't try to pierce your ears with a nail gun, duh. The duh statement comment for Clemson was, who's going to be our quarterback? So I was extremely critical of DJ. And I never became personal about it because he is an individual. He is someone's son. I have sons. I've never wanted anyone to get personal with them. At the same time, he is the quarterback for one of the top teams in the country for the past, almost decade. So, he does have large shoes to fill. He does have a lot of responsibility, and he has a lot of eyes on him. Last season was a season that not only would he probably want to forget, or at least say, I learned from it and I move on, but we would like to forget as well as Clemson fans. And also one of the reasons I was critical of him is I have been watching football since the early 90s. I have watched great athletes, much greater than him, who would go through a slump, whether it was due to health, off the field issues, or what have you, and they never recovered. Pros, college football, even high school league. They had a lot of promise, but they could not regroup and move past it. So, I'm going to be sarcastic here. Forgive me for learning from history, because history was not on his side. But he proved different. Now, does DJ still need to grow? Absolutely. All individuals playing college football and even NFL football needs to grow. They need to continue to get better. But up to this point, DJ has shown an about face. He dedicated himself in the offseason to becoming more healthy. Physically, he lost weight. Now, I will tell you this. Losing weight does not mean that your footwork is going to be good and that your reads are going to be good. And that's just the truth. But it's one element of dedication to fixing things, righting the ship, so to speak. His checkdowns have been fantastic. His decision-making has been spot on. I know in that very first game, it was kind of, then Furman, it was a little better, and then from there, it's just exploded. In the Wake Forest game, he did not fall apart. In fact, he rose to the occasion. He's throwing better passes than he's ever thrown at Clemson. Even the historic and probably sometime one of the worst things that ever happened to him, the Notre Dame game in 2020. He's leading the team. He's getting better and better every week. He's only thrown 2 interceptions, and one of them is really only a true interception, meaning that it was, he made a bad read, threw a pick. The other one was a tip pass, and anyone who has a brain and knows how to grade football knows that, if your wide receiver goes out there and doesn't lock their hands on it and he gets batted up, you're going to get credited for the interception, but that's not your bad. So I'm very happy with him. I'm very happy for him as an individual because I've heard various things about off-the-field stuff going on with his family. And let me tell you, it does not get any worse than having to deal with off-the-field issues that deals with family. So I'm very happy for him, not as a football player, but as a person. So congrats to him. He's still got to grow. He's still got to continue to get better. And but he's really growing. So there's growth again. Our secondary, one of the things that really ticks me off about the poor journalism in major college football is how they will talk kind of passively about the injuries in Clemson's secondary, but they pass over it like it's no big deal. For any Clemson fan who has been watching me, whether it's on Durkins or whether it's here, one thing that I've beat the drum over that I'm really ticked about. And that is for two of the most important games that we had all season, we were missing 75% of our secondary. That Wake Forest game, Sam Hartman's a good quarterback. Not going to take away from what they did. I know injuries are part of the game. That's another duh statement. I get it. But I'm saying it's kind of like, 2020. When Clemson played Notre Dame, Clemson was missing a lot of people due to health reasons, and Notre Dame beat them. And they're like, oh, we beat them. And Notre Dame fans would get really, really mad if you said, well, you didn't play the real Clemson. Oh, no, we didn't. Get to the ACC championship. They played the real Clemson and got their tail handed to them. Personnel means something. Personnel means a lot. I know this coming weekend, Bryce Young may or may not be playing against Tennessee, and then a lot of people's question that if he plays, is he going to be healthy enough to actually go out there and put on a really good performance, and could he get injured and get knocked out for the rest of the year? That is a valid question for someone who's thinking short and long term. For Clemson's football team to just be kind of swept under the rug and the secondary it's just like, man up. I mean, that's a good statement. That's great to have on a commercial or, maybe a sign in a team room. But experience is experience. And whoever is out on the field, that is a big deal because even if you're a really, really good player, but you're not starting, there's a reason for that. And so I am happy about the defensive players who's had to step up. They didn't tuck their tail after the Wake Forest game. They didn't fall apart. In fact, they came back the next week and played really well against NC State. And then we just saw more growth out of them. And so that gives them more experience, but we saw growth. Next up, Wes Goodwin. Wes Goodwin has made the proper changes. He has changed his coverage. And let me tell you this, and this is just I'll try to keep this a very short rant. I understand strategy in business. I understand that you have to set up certain processes, certain plans, and strategy to get to a goal. All right? Too many times, whether it's coaches, whether it's businesses, fill in the blank. They have a goal, and they make this plan, but they become married to the plan, forgetting that the plan's supposed to get them to the goal. It was Dwight Eisenhower who said, plans are nothing, planning is everything. What does that mean? Let me tell you what that means. That means that you have to continuously be going back to that plan and looking at it and saying, is it working? If not, how do we tweak it? Too many coaches looks at their plan and goes, well, I came up with this, and I know exactly what... Oh, my God. You're losing, dude. You're giving up too many yards. Well, the plan is good. What Wes Goodwin did was he made adjustments. to his plan, changed some coverage up to complement who was playing and who was not playing. And that gains a lot of respect from me. That gains a lot of respect from anyone who is looking at Goodwin and saying, hey man, all the good things we've heard about you, it was true. So, congrats to him. Brandon Streeter, I've been very critical of him. I did not like his interview right after he had received the nod for OC. And I'm just going to tell you why. Once again, I've been in the business world for a very long time. A lot of people who spits out the talking points and the mission statement for a company, you have to watch them like a hawk. They're normally the guys who were playing golf with the boss. They have absolutely no ability other than they're really good at kissing up. And a lot of these people are very detrimental to an organization. He came off that way in that interview. Wes Goodwin, on the other hand, he almost had like a Bill Belichick, Nick Saban kind of passive air to where, he's, we're talking on strategy. You wouldn't want to just sit there and talk to the guy for hours about football because he'd probably bore you to death. That was one of Kissinger's techniques of communication too, was he would just bore you to death with monotone, and then suddenly he would hit you with one of his demands. But Streeter didn't. Streeter, I just didn't like the interview. And as I've said, I don't know him. He may be a great guy. But you know what? The guy came out. He's called some really solid plays. He's got DJ comfortable. He's had to work with the receiving core that hasn't been fighting for the ball. Now at this point, a lot of them are. There's still some other guys I need to see more out of them. But he's also working with an offensive line. I'm going to get to them in a second. That has not provided superb protection for DJ. I was at the Furman game, and I was at the La Tech game, and then I've watched all the games, obviously. I'm going to tell you, Furman gave them a run for their money more than anybody. I mean, you got to think NC State had a lot of starters who returned. And they were not push-asides. Furman University, little FCS school out of Travelers Rest, South Carolina. They say Greenville, but anybody who lives close knows it's Travelers Rest. Gave them all they can handle. And I remember thinking, man, this is going to be a long season if we can't fix this. Every week, they've continued to get better. Grow. And I'm very happy that the offensive line has grown and that they're getting better. So, went a little longer here than what I thought, but I'm going to close it up with these next few statements. So, have we arrived as a program? I know we're ranked number 4, but we know that that means nothing. No, we have not arrived, but my goodness, we're totally getting to that place where we need to be. That's one. Next, continue to grow, stay as healthy as possible. And I believe that the ACC championship, actually holding the trophy, will be inevitable. If we continue to grow, everyone continues to get better. Everyone continues to go game in and game out and do what they need to do. I think the playoffs is inevitable. So, with that said, I think that at 6-0 right now, number 4 in the country, we should be in a good place for the rest of the season. We do have an important game coming up with Florida State in Tallahassee. The line on that game is only about 3 points. We're the favorite, but who knows? And then, of course, Syracuse after that, and then I believe it is, forgive me, it's right off the top of my head, then we have a bye week, then it should be Louisville, Miami, and then South Carolina. So, y'all forgive me if I'm missing a team in there, but I'm sure someone will correct me. Anyway, I'm happy where the football team is at, how they're growing. Continue to grow. Don't settle in. You have not arrived, but at what you're doing right now, don't stop. Keep going, and you'll be in the college football playoff, and maybe, just maybe, holding the national title. Well, I'm Brian Knight. Thank you for joining me on Not Bobby Durkins. Go Tigers.